Alright, welcome back. I'm still just working down the thickness and working on establishing a good taper, checking my bend with the floor tillering. Bark can actually be a helpful tool in figuring out where the bow's bending early in the process, because it's only going to crack and break where the bow's actually working. So if you're noticing a lot of the bark coming off in one spot and not in others, it might be a sign that that spot's weaker than the rest. We'll speed this up as I continue to work the bow down. I'm going to shape the handle a little bit more at this point. Just kind of getting a vague idea of what the handle is going to look like. I'm not going to bring it down to its final proportions yet. I'll save that for a little bit later. Starting to use my fingers to feel the thickness of the bow, see where it's thick and thin. Your fingers are a really important tool for tillering your bow. While I remove the rest of the bark from the bow, I didn't show that part. I just used some boiling water and a spoon to scrape it off without damaging the back. The boiling water will soften the cambium up really quickly, and then you can quickly take a spoon and scrape it off quite easily. It's a good technique for getting the bark off without damaging the back. Starting to be more and more discriminate in my wood removal. I'm using my fingers more to feel for thick spots and thin spots, and taking the wood off strategically instead of just in broad strokes. Making sure I get the fades even so that I can have some control over where the bow is starting to do its work and where the handle starts. I'm rasping the whole belly down even so that when I'm using my fingers to feel the taper, that I can get a more accurate read instead of having all the little humps and bumps that are left by the draw knife. I'm going to spend a little bit more time shaping the handle here. I used to wait to do the handle later in the process, but I like getting it relatively well established because it helps me with the early tillering process to know exactly where my fades are and how they're going to look, and let them start doing their job a little bit earlier in the process instead of waiting and sometimes being surprised in a bad way. There's lots of different handle styles on this bow. I'm going to have kind of a bulbous style handle. It's one that I favor. I like the way it feels in my hand. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a flare to it on either end where it peaks up. That's purely for aesthetics. I'm going to switch over to the card scraper now. The bow's bending more. I want to be careful not to take off too much wood too fast, so that I'm certain that I'm taking it off in the right places. The card scraper is a perfect tool for refined wood removal, especially on a softer wood like yew. The scraper can still take off a good amount of wood if it's sharpened properly. You want to make sure that you're getting nice thick curls with the scraper. If you're just getting dust, you're not really taking off much wood, you're just making heat. I've done the bow here, you can see how far it's come, how much more it's bending. From what I can tell from the floor tiller, it looks pretty good. I'm liking the way it's bending. Liking what I see with the floor tillering. I'm ready to move on to the next stage, and to do that, I need to string the bow and brace it for the first time, which means that I need some knocks in the bow. I'm planning on putting overlays on this bow, so I'm just going to make some kind of simple temporary self-knocks. I'm going to do them way out towards the end of the bow, so that when it's time to put the overlays on, I'll be able to make these side knocks pretty much disappear off the end of the bow when I narrow the tip. I'm using a chainsaw file and I'm setting it at about a 45-degree angle, angling in towards the handle of the bow. When I do my string grooves, I like to do a little bit on each side as I go along, as opposed to doing one side completely and then going over to the other side and trying to match that. I feel like I'm more successful in making them symmetrical and even if I do a little bit on one side, check it, and flip the bow over and do a little bit on the other side. Alright, here's the moment of truth. Doing the first brace is always one of the more exciting parts of making a bow. It starts to really feel like a bow instead of just a stick of wood. This is going to be your first real clear indication of what the tiller's like. All the floor tillering, and if you use a long string to do tillering, all of that can kind of give you some crude ideas about the tiller, but the first brace is gonna tell you a lot that you need to know. And not too shabby. Has a nice even bend. Looks like one limb is a little bit stronger than the other, but that's easily taken care of. All of that careful work hunting for thick spots and thin spots paid off, and I'm able to start off the rest of the tillering process with a bow that's already bending pretty evenly.